Headshot, nice. Fist bumps go to the teammates. I wanna hear your go, go, go. I wanna see you falling fast. Win the round. Win the game. Very much. They play, you win.
Hello everybody and welcome to the European Development Championship, which is of course brought to you by Gaming Malta, a home of gaming excellence. My name is Tombiz and joining me today is going to be Scriven. How you doing? Like, I'm in a completely different location to normal, but I feel like you're still in the same bedroom that I'm going to guess you've been in for a long, long time now.
Yeah, it is indeed. Back and forth from uni for a few years, but always casting the Counter-Strike from here, really. But I'm good. I'm looking forward to it. We've got a couple best of threes, checking in with some teams I've not watched for a while, so it's going to be some good fun Counter-Strike action, of course.
Well, yeah, that's sort of where I want to start edging our way towards. We do have ourselves ILLUMINAR, who are going to be coming up against the Budapest 5. As you mentioned, it is going to be a best of three, and it is an elimination match. We have already seen both of these teams play at least a little bit so far throughout this tournament. Now, I've seen a bit of ILLUMINAR recently and was actually pleasantly surprised with sort of what I was seeing, because they are one of those teams that you look on paper and again, you're kind of going, okay, they've got some Polish superstars. You got the likes of Snacks, you got Veggie. Like, these are players that we've seen for quite a while now who can definitely do some damage, but they always seem to be a little bit inconsistent with the way that we see them play. Like, it's a bit up and down. Like, they'll have losses to other Polish teams like Pact, for example, have a close game versus the Belgium team, Maestro. So, like, realistically, we don't know what to expect from them. But then on the other side of the coin, Scriv, you got the Budapest 5.
Yeah, they, I think, in more of a downturn than ILLUMINAR. Honestly, they've been together for a while, trying to get this roster working. Right, they played an awful lot of tournaments during the summer, really giving it a good go there with the Malta Vibes Cups and whatnot, but struggling to break into the top 4 consistently. Right, they'd be lucky if they made it to like 5th or 6th place. So really not having too much of a good time there. Against teams of that similar kind of level, where it does feel like ILLUMINAR a bit more towards the top end. I'd say Budapest 5, they have some good individuals, right? Torzi really does a lot of the heavy lifting for this team and is certainly one to watch. But when it comes to things like discipline and just keeping it tight-knit and coming from behind and whatnot, they can really struggle, I think, to get their heads back in the game and just keep a steady mindset of walking through the game, taking it slowly, and making sure that they turn these results into victories, turn these individuals into victories.
Well, yeah, I've got to see a bit of like some of the players from Budapest 5 in the past. I remember Kolor previously being on another multinational roster, and Torzi was someone who actually quite impressed me when it came to, I think it was in V4, where he had a couple of pretty incredible moments. Now, as you can see on your screen at the moment, we are going to have the maps, and a bit of a surprise, if anything, from my perspective. ILLUMINAR are going to be very happy with the map pool that's come up. 2 maps that they play almost religiously, it seems, like Vertigo being one of their most played, Mirage being their most played, and then next on the list is Nuke, which is their choice. So in terms of a veto, the polls have pretty much got everything they could possibly desire. But I'm guessing if you're on the other side of things, if you are the likes of Budapest 5, you kind of have to look at this and go, okay, if these are the maps that you're coming into, if you're happy to pick one of your opponent's better maps and sort of go, okay, we're going to take you on that, I think it's going to be interesting to see what they've got prepared, like how much they've got on that map in general, because we don't have a massive amount of statistics when it comes to the Budapest 5. Like, they're a team that sure, we see them come and go and play in a few tournaments, but they're not quite at the likes of an ILLUMINAR yet, who, at least in terms of tier 2 events, even when it comes to like opens and stuff like that, they're either invited or managing to qualify. So at slightly different levels, but at the same time, we're still in online Counter-Strike. I think that we've learned at this point that anybody can beat anybody. And the Hungarian side are one that, as I said, in terms of some individuals like Fleeve as well, has definitely proven they can fight versus some decent teams. So I wouldn't give this completely over to the Poles. I guess, as you can see from the Paramatch odds, I would agree with them quite a bit, actually. I think it's slightly in favor of the Poles, but I'm not sure it's going to be dominant.
Yeah, there's certainly a chance for Budapest 5, and I think they are just one of those teams that if you come in underestimating them, not ready for their almost very one-track style of play where it's super aggressive, super in your face. If you're not ready for that, they can catch you off guard for sure. But I think you raise a really good point in the sense that the veto has just worked out brilliantly. I think it's a great matchup for ILLUMINAR in that sense, just because of the maps that get permabanned and whatnot work out relatively well for them. And also they have a pretty deep map pool at this point as well, looking really strong in that sense. So I feel things are not looking great for Budapest 5, but it does, you know, the statistics are not everything, particularly in a game like this where the Budapest 5, as I say, can just catch you off guard if you're not ready for them. So at the very least, I hope to see that Nuke is somewhat competitive moving forwards. It's not like they're completely uncomfortable on Vertigo and Mirage, but ILLUMINAR, I think, by that point will have plans for their own pick, and then Mirage is a very, very comfortable map. They play it an awful lot to great success. So I don't think it's going to be the easiest of runs here for Budapest 5, but there's certainly a chance. It just kind of feels more like the Poles have got to make mistakes rather than a shoe-in for Budapest 5 being the stronger team. It's going to be an uphill battle, but it's definitely not impossible. I think we're both in that same kind of boat.
Yeah, I believe we're having a small technical issue. We don't love being on camera as much as you might think. So we are just going to take, or at least in my eyes, we're going to take a little bit of a look through the groups. I want to just see like all the different teams that we currently have on offer. So if you, Scriv, just get them up on your screen at least, and we can have a little bit of a chat about them. Because I think Group A is one where I actually think it was a fairly brutal group. Like the likes of Fours obviously changing a couple of members have made things interesting, or at least it seems they have. They're playing with a new team. We'll see them coming up later on today. Them, ILLUMINAR, and Endpoint. I think it's sort of those are the three teams I'm looking to battle it out. And Endpoint obviously already managing to go straight 2-0 in the group. Then moving into Group B, I'm interested here where you sort of have your favorites, because I know from MDL, Hellraisers have sort of surprised me a bit, but I'm still going to look at that Heretics team, even with the loss of Nvdia. I still think they have some players that can do a pretty decent amount of damage.
Yeah, Hellraisers is definitely the one that sticks out just because of the turnaround that they seem to have, right? It looked like initially this project of the five of them not really looking that good when they first came together, built around Flarich and everything, and then they changed the rest of the roster. But coming into this season of MDL, like you say, they were super impressive. Honestly, I think in playoffs didn't quite make it as far as I expected them to, so maybe a little rough towards the end, the final hurdle kind of thing, but big improvements from them. I don't know, I think Skade can be a decent team as well. Heretics definitely another one to look towards, but I don't think fully fleshing out their roster just yet. Whereas you look to Skade, and again, another team where these guys have been together for a long time. Similar to the Hungarian Counter-Strike, the Bulgarian Counter-Strike is very scary and can catch you off guard with some of their super aggressive individuals and whatnot. So I think that's definitely another one to watch. And then I guess the Dark Horse Galaxy Racer, you never really know what you're going to get with that team.
Well, that's the thing that sort of interests me when I look at the group draw, is that I would say the teams from Group A and B, I maybe not Budapest 5, sorry, Hungarians, I know that you're probably watching right now and I've just broken your hearts, but I would say the other 7 teams could easily win the other 2 groups. Like, I look at Forza, Endpoint, and ILLUMINAR, and I think that if I put them into Group C, I would say they're favorites. The same as if you put them into Group D as well. Like Saw have definitely, maybe not Saw. I think Saw have looked very good recently. I've been thoroughly impressed. The Dodo's someone it may actually be one of my favorite players to watch at this point. I think he's fantastic. But like Espada, I never really know what to expect from. Movistar as well. Obviously, have been going through a lot of different things recently. And if I'm being brutally honest, Scriv, I don't know who Bez ZP are. So that's a team that I don't really expect anything from. Na'Vi Junior as well, and the Copenhagen Flames consistently, like Na'Vi Junior is literally a feeder team, so you can't really expect a massive amount, although they do have some fantastic young players. Copenhagen Flames are probably more of a feeder team than Na'Vi Junior, and that's impressive because Na'Vi Junior are literally the junior team of Na'Vi. So if you feed more teams than them, well, I guess at a point you can't really do anything about it. Alternate Attacks, again, decent team, and K23 have proven to at least be better than I might have expected them to be. But again, I think if you put Hellraiser, Skade, or Heretics in that group, I would probably expect them to win it. So I think it's going to be interesting getting into the playoff stage to see how those teams compete, because in Group A, we're going to be losing a decent team. In Group B, the same. And as you sort of mentioned, like Galaxy Racers are one of those rosters where, well, we got to cast Floscolo, which you will not have heard of because they are a Swedish mixed team. But we got to cast them during DreamHack Open because they managed to beat the Galaxy Racers. And then Galaxy Racers will come through and upset some pretty decent teams along the way. So they're probably one of the most inconsistent rosters in all of Counter-Strike, but they can be very exciting to watch. But it looks like we are getting into our first map. Of course, I think I got things a little bit backwards earlier, and this is actually the pick of Budapest 5. So they've gone into a map that, as said, it's one that the Poles like to play, and I think people almost seem to forget that I used to call this a Polish map. Like, it now is evidently a Danish map. Like, you will go there and it's like, okay, you got your Astralises, your Heroics. Like, those are the teams that you have to fear when it comes to this map. But in the past, VP were a ridiculously good team on this map, and Snacks was, of course, part of that roster. So I'm hoping that the Poles are going to show us again that they can still play Nuke to a high standard, but obviously the Hungarians are feeling confident going into this one because they picked it.
Yeah, I think Snacks is a really good one to look towards, actually. When he was under the Aves roster, again, during the summer, so obviously kind of turncoating a little bit and moving to a different team. But when he was under that team, they'd put him on the AWP on this map, and he would either have, like, incredibly takeover games, or he would just be completely flat. So we'll see what the game plan is on Illuminar, but I think he's definitely one to watch on this map. Now that I've pointed him out, of course, he's going to have one of those terrible showings, but all the same, getting into the action here as we finally are into game. Taking a little bit of time to get here, but straightforward with the pistol. Early nade, maybe going to be utilized, not quite. It's a ramp rush coming in from the T side, just bouncing forwards, not looking too good. They do find a couple heads. It's a mess of frags so far. Somehow back into a 2-on-2. The CTs had such a great opening little exchange there, but it's actually come down to an even scenario.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, they haven't actually done the best of jobs at defending their teammate. Well, Coolio has brought it back into a 1v1. Snacks, the master of these situations, has a 5-7 to his name, and a single bullet will do the job, spamming through, may even kill him through the door at this point, but Coolio runs back across, instant headshot onto the pole, and he will take Budapest 5, the pistol round. A 1v2 situation to start things off, Scriv. Not a bad opener to the day.
And there, of course, are the ever so slightly updated odds. Oh. Flicking, of course, after the pistol. So do be sure to keep up with that. They'll crop up throughout the day, throughout the map and everything. Banner down below, of course. Let's get yourself a little bit of bonus cash. But either way, into this second round, the Force Buy coming in from Illuminar. Eagles over MP9. Certainly need to be careful on that T side of things, not to get caught off guard. These types of games as well, as we've seen, as I think you witnessed at the recent Open, can be a little wacky. You really do need to give respect across to your opponents and not just go swinging in, thinking, oh, it's all good. I'm the first guy to go down. My teammates will recover it, but it can spiral out of control quite quickly. So really do like this from Budapest 5. Biding their time, trying to spot some aggression if anything's coming from the CTs. They're not moving, so now Budapest 5 have got to make some kind of a play of their own.
It does seem like Snacks could be saving himself some extra money, so he'll only have a Deeg in this round. Now, that's not a kill actually coming up for Mouse, but he's done enough damage that this could actually be a worry, especially with the Deagles in play. The MP9 as well could be a chance to farm up some extra cash. And you can already see the CT side have made a double rotation, putting a couple of players on this lower bomb site, trying to deny the cross. They're actually going to push straight into Reet. Not what I would advise facing off against the Deagle. You want to let the Deagle come to you. Instead, they're just handing them kills, and there comes that MP9, just farming up the remaining low players, goes for the peak, and they win that with 3 players surviving. That is a round that Budapest 5 are going to want to forget, and as said, I think the worst thing you can do in Counter-Strike is push a Deagle. Like, if he could just hold the angle and just rattle off shots, you're going to make things very, very easy for him.
Yeah, definitely seemed to be the right idea to begin with from Budapest 5, like I was saying. Safe, cool, calm, and collected, but once they burst in, it seems all sense of kind of discipline and whatnot goes out the window. It's something that I mentioned a little bit in the pre-game, that from time to time they can get ahead of themselves, just blood in the water and sprint in kind of thing. No bomb plant either in the previous round, so a rough buy, a rough economic situation as to be expected for Budapest 5, and like you say, surviving with 3, all 3 players picked up rifles as well. Ooh, it's a crispy one from Corey to open us up, and Miles has been tagged up once again. Maybe the craziness, the back and forth, might just be in for a ride in the early rounds here, Tom.
You'd have to be pretty disappointed if ILLUMINAR were to lose this round as well, because it's not like the last where maybe you have like some utility missing or some rifles missing. They pretty much had everything they could need going into this round, so they almost want to be keeping this one with 3+ players alive, although it's looking fairly unlikely at this stage. Veggie, though, the timing he gets is almost flawless. 2 easy kills. He's got PHR on the site, although he's been tagged. However, Veggie has just taken it into his own hands. A quick cleanup. There are the 3 players surviving, so ILLUMINAR get there in the end, although 2 of them are relatively low on HP. Doesn't matter too much, and unfortunately for Budapest 5, after what was a stellar start, they now have to take what will be an eco.
Yeah, it's certainly, I think, one of the worst positions to be in, especially coming straight into your pick. Yes, you're on the T side, but you win the pistol, you lose the subsequent. Could be worse, could be on the CT side, but all the same, it's a road that's now required, and you can't make as many mistakes really in this T half. I think they will be kicking themselves ever so slightly. It was a nice pistol to open up, you know. Talked about it going down to a 2v2 out of nowhere. They managed to clutch it up, and then it's ultimately all in vain. So, not expecting to see too much out of this one, just the Deagle for Corey. Found great success with it in the previous round. Whether he finds it again is another question. A lot of chunk damage has come in from nades, a few sprays here and there, I believe. Oh, that's a bit rough. PHR spots the head of Corey, but not vice versa. So he ends up going down. There's 3 players, 3 gremlins looking to try and find that Deagle and maybe get success of their own. Where's it gone, though? Is it up on red? I'm not quite sure. Either way, they're all going down here, looking good for the CT side, as you would expect.
Maybe not.
Going to get Glock with a bomb, has escaped down the vents, I believe. And a plant comes in. Oh, no, denied at the last second. That's so unlucky.
Nice idea. Like, that's one of those things where the bomb plant there would have been a pretty big victory. And even so, you look at the economy of the T side coming into this round, it's actually fairly weak. Corey's investment in the last has left him a little bit thin. He's going to be on a UMP. Now, we've seen that Glaive, in terms of statistics, has, I think this is his 3rd highest weapon use. So if Glaive uses it, that means there must be something behind it. Obviously, that's the reason nobody uses the MP5, because Banks used it, and that's a reason that you don't use the gun. So, nonetheless, a piece or 2 missing, and already going to be denied by some early utility. Waiting to see what they'll actually do on the T side. If it is just going to be that more brawly style with sort of like the more basic smokes outside just to give them some control. You see with the top teams, there's a lot more in terms of variation. You have the diagonal smokes and the L smokes as well, which block off the garage and basically make things a a bit tougher to sort of read because, well, at the moment you can see they've thrown down the basic line of smokes, but that's as a ruse. They're trying to bait a lower rotation, which, to be fair, they have done as they now look to execute into the site. The counter utility from the CT side, though, is superb. Sure, it's an even trade for now, but this gives them time to rotate players in, and Snacks, already with a double opener, might have put this to bed.
Looks like it. Veggie not going down. Torzy the only one left. Smoke doesn't dissipate in his favor either. So, yeah, ILLUMINAR, solid hold. Multi-frags coming in from, I suppose, more of the tenured players on that lineup. Budapest 5, I don't know. It's a nice enough idea, but I don't think they'd baited out enough of the utility on A. Some slight mind games going their way, but ultimately just a little mess, a little forced, I think, trying to work their way into the A bomb site in that manner. But all the same, for ILLUMINAR, things are looking really, really good. There you go, round 5 MVP. Absolutely fair enough. He has been looking pretty solid along with the big man Snacks. The two of them are fragging quite well so far.
Yeah, I think it might have been Snacks who threw down the Molotov as well. I'm not entirely sure, but it was just a really good denial. Like, the second they went for their push, they completely separated the players as they went to go into the site. By that point, Snacks have rotated through Heaven as well to take a new angle and try and support his teammate. And the execution from Budapest 5 wasn't bad. Like, the actual grenades that they threw were on point. The problem was that they didn't actually have anybody in position. And this is what I'm talking about when I mention variation. So they've switched up their smokes. The problem is we already have Snacks outside peering over the top, so he knows that it's not an outside take. The problem is they've still lost players on the cross. However, the rotation again is thick and fast. And although, again, there's some damage done, although they remove a couple of players, the CT side don't actually look like they're breaking too much of a sweat, even though in that round, I'm pretty sure they were caught off guard a little bit.
Really comfortable, aren't they? I think this is what we were touching on in the pre-show. The maps have worked out brilliantly, and they're just so familiar with Nuke. Really is going to be tough for Budapest 5. And then they start the map off a little poorly, slipping and dropping the ball very, very early on. And since then, have really not had a chance at any round, it feels like. So we'll see. Another rifle round in. Early smokes outside. But quiet start to round number 7. Will they burst into the A-bomb site? Trying to, through squeaky door. Somewhat successful PHR, though, behind the Molotov. He fluffs it up. However, Corey gets lucky, takes him down. Could be the frag that they need. It's still an even scenario as the bomb goes down, though.
Oh, that flash was so sick. It left him completely blind. And now Mouse comes to push him from the heavens. They know exactly where these players are. Corey's going to burn. And now it's all on to Fleeve, who actually gets wallbanged. In fact, so much so that Snacks doesn't even realize he's died yet. Again, like, the take they're trying, the actual Molotov, the execute, not bad. The problem is, firstly, the kills that they managed to get going into the site, they completely missed one player as they were walking in, which, okay, they got away with, but I don't think they will again. And it's understandable now that the odds have really started to swing into ILLUMINAR's favor, because the fact is, Budapest 5 have just done the same thing again and again, and it's not working. They need something else. They need a variation. I would actually like to see them go for a proper outside take, because they've just been throwing the same grenades again and again outside, but not actually done anything with them. And once more, well, PHR is just getting ready for players to push that door at this point, because they've done it 4 rounds in a row.
Yeah, I think frustration starting to set in for the Budapest 5, honestly. Which is somewhat troublesome. We're quite early on, their map pick, etc., etc. There we go. Coolio's found a trade onto Mouse, so at the very least it's even after an aggressive start from Fleeve. I think he gets caught off. I believe it was actually the CT side that naded the door. Either way, they're walking into the A-bomb site here. I'm not so sure about this one. It doesn't work with the execute, so I'm not really sold on the contact play. And neither are Budapest 5, to be honest. An even scenario goes to a 4v1 in about as many seconds. All onto Corey. Does have the bomb. PHR watching that smoke, though. Yeah, and he's not missing right now. So, incredibly easy stuff for ILLUMINAR. You can certainly see why the odds shift so massively, because it's not just like They're winning the rounds. It's the fashion in which they are doing so, looking really, really good. Of course, shout out to Hellcase. A couple codes for you guys that you can use on hellcase.com. Get amongst it.
I am starting to worry because we're just seeing Budapest 5 do the same thing again and again. I think this is 6 rounds in a row that they've run straight into the A site. And sure, this time I think they managed to get a player down the vent, but it doesn't matter. You've lost so many players along the way. Okay, bomb down, that's something, but PHR, he's ruling this vent area, and Corey now has to try and pull off a pretty ludicrous clutch. He will at least retrieve himself a rifle, but as long as the Poles play this one smart, they'll be absolutely fine. They have got a 3v1 situation. They're going to try and distract him, break the glass, get themselves a little bit further forward, clearing out the back corner, although they push individually. Luckily, PHR's is on an absolute tear. Not somebody you normally talk about when it comes to sort of like the highest of individual skill. He's normally the supportive player within this roster. Currently 15-3. And that main reason for that is just because they keep running into the A site and just handing him kills. We have not seen a proper outside take. We've not seen a ramp take. It has literally just been aggression into the A site. And okay, fair enough. If you want to do that a few times in a row, I don't really have a problem with it. You're 8-1 down. Change your strategy.
Yeah, it's really wild. It's really wild. It's all these things that, you know, we were touching on and whatnot. I think I might have to hold the point because speed once again is coming in. Yeah, Color going to get taken down. Trade almost lands. Snacks left on 3 HP. Corey, meanwhile, outside. So the aggressive ramp push, a distraction, and a successful one. They've now got a lurking presence in Corey that could really put a thorn in the side of the CTs here, with Snacks being on low HP. This is probably one of the better looking rounds for Budapest 5 that we've seen so far. Another A hit, of course, but a slightly different approach into it. Looking really good, catching PHR off guard. There you go. Lovely stuff. Is anyone able to step up in a big way for ILLUMINAR is the main question here. Snacks is miles away. Mao's moving towards heaven, but I'm not sure that they really want to go for this.
I would almost say it's worth Mao's just trying to remove some weaponry here. Like, you've got Stacks on 10,000 and looking to save an AWP. You've got PHR on 11,000, Reets on 10,000 as well. Like, we're getting towards the latter stages of the half. Sure, you want to make sure you have everything available to you, but I think it's worth more to do damage to your opponent's economy because there isn't a huge amount available for Budapest 5. Again, like, that's an okay round for them, but I think it's purely based off that battle that they win outside. Like, that's all it was. That one kill made the difference. It gave them extra control, and that was enough to shut things down. I don't know if that's something they're going to be able to get all the time. And the scary thing as well is if they had continued to push the ramp, it was actually a bait and switch. They just never quite saw the switch. They got to Snacks, they took a bullet, and then they fell back, whereas the second player was actually waiting for them. So I'm liking actually more so what I'm seeing from ILLUMINAR. Sure, they get caught out in this round. They lose a couple of individual duels. But in terms of their actual CT setup and how they're trying to switch things up and take aggression, even though we've seen Budapest 5 pretty much do the same thing every single round. Is he really the MVP of the round with 1 kill? I'm not sure. Was it 46 damage? Interesting. Well,
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was who went outside, but I'm pretty sure they got 2 kills, including an entry into the A side. So I might have given it in their direction, but nonetheless, clearly that 46 damage, 1 kill was a masterpiece.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we're working off of like in-game MVPs for that, which I know like bomb plants and whatnot has an effect, right?
That's true. The bomb did go off. So.
Okay, so it is. Fair enough. So that explains it. That explains it. But yeah, I don't know. The previous round, it's kind of how much of it is based off of, for the past 7 or 8 rounds, we've just rushed everyone in, and this round we've got one guy outside. You know, it's a very subtle change. They're once again going for a speedy A hit though, and it's hard to tell. 2 for 2. Reet's still alive, however, in mini, and he's holding the line. Looking really good here. Torzi falls as the rotations come in. All onto Coolio, half HP. And, well, he's had to retreat. He's actually lost ground. And I don't think he fancies it. Is he going to save in this situation? Or is he just looking for a different approach? All the same, it seems we're back to regular proceedings. And ILLUMINAR looking clean.
Yeah, it's almost like they have the mentality of like they won't expect us to do this again. It's like you've done this in what, like 7 or 8 of the 11 rounds that we've seen played so far. I think they're going to expect it at this point. And then each time they've walked into the site, it's one man goes first, the rest of the team wait, and that player has missed checking an angle, I think, every single time they've walked into the site. So yeah, bit disappointed with what I'm seeing from Budapest 5. Snacks in a prime position here, and a very, very easy kill to close the round. 9-2. Again, like, ILLUMINAR, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, they're the most amazing nuke team ever, because they really haven't had to do much. But they are getting things done on the A side. They've got a decent crossfire. They're being dynamic in the positions they're playing because somehow they managed to catch up Budapest 5 every single time. It also seemed like they didn't check the back angle of the site because they threw a Molotov, and if anything, that just means they didn't push fast enough to actually see where that Molotov cleared someone out. So, yeah. We're actually seeing an outside take. Smoke missed initially, but it will fall in the end. And finally, we're seeing something different from the Budapest 5.
Finally being the operative word. We'll see whether it's successful, to be honest. It's a slightly different test for ILLUMINAR. Snacks, though, looking solid. Nice little nade to help him out. And just
back
like
to
that...
Back to A!
Yeah, they don't know what to do. B's not working. We've taken so much damage. We've lost 2 men. Go back to plan A, really. This is wild to me. Like, I don't know why you pick this map as well if you're going to play like this. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sure. I think the likes of Dust 2 was open. Mirage is our decider, so that was open. But picking Nuke and playing this one-track style, just rushing in, hold the phone for a sec, talking like it's over. It's not quite over just yet. Veggie is looking to, seal the deal, and he does. Crispy headshots to clean up. Certainly damage done in the context of that round from Budapest 5, but they need actual rounds themselves at this point. But yeah, for me, it just comes back down to the veto. It's very, very strange. And this is kind of what I was talking about as well in the pre-show, where if they're ahead, Budapest 5, very difficult team to keep up with and whatnot, but when they're behind, it just doesn't work. But they play as if they're ahead, as if it's working, you know, and they just keep bashing their head against the wall. So it's certainly a strange one, and the wall that ILLUMINAR are putting up is incredibly solid right now. They are impenetrable at the moment.
Oh dear lord, Mouse is already going to clear out 2 from the ramp. The rotations they've had as well have been so quick, but I want to put part of that down to Budapest 5's own mentality. They are so, I almost want to say, blatantly obvious as to where they're going every single round. Like, most of the time you have the standard execute. Then on the other side of things, you have the pushes outside. It's just not great. Of course, again, you can head over to Paramatch. They're giving us the odds. I imagine they're also giving us some money as well, which is nice. So giving them a big shout out keeps the tournament going. And that is exactly what we want. So, T-side back to pistols once again. No surprise for Veggie that someone's tried to push the squeaky door because someone has done it every round. It's most teams try to be unpredictable in Counter-Strike. Not Budapest 5. They like you to know they're coming. Unfortunately, that hasn't really been working out for the Hungarians thus far. But maybe that's the surprise. On the CT side, they'll be wacky and wild and unpredictable all the way through. That's Flashbang. He's going to deny a bit of presence. Reitz might be in a little bit of trouble here. Taking some damage already from the Deeg, and I think he's just going to look to try and escape out of this position. Now, the smoke you throw onto the stairs can give you a bit of a shroud over the top to find some kills, and actually a fair few missed duels coming out at the moment. Veggie, though, eventually comes in to clean things up, leaving it just down to 2. Make that 1. While Kolor, he's been having a bit of a rough match. 4 and 14, not been going particularly well, and I don't think it's going to be getting any better.
No. Who is... I mean, Corey's doing okay. Coolio's doing alright. Torzi also having a rough time. Same scoreline as Kolor, so... mentioned him, pointed to him to be one of the stronger members. I suppose, sure, it's a little tougher to get the AWP going on the T side, but all the same. And I guess if you're not winning rounds and getting bomb plants consistently, also pulling it out is a rarity. But not having a good time, and it is going to have an effect. Another fast A play coming in, of course. Veggie with a positional change, gets a double before falling, and it's looking pretty good for the T side, actually. Coolio's picked up 3 out of nowhere. A challenge for Reitz and Mouse, finally, they say. A 2v2. Oh, and the bomb in an awkward spot. This could be really good, actually, for the CT side. Reitz peeking in again to find another. All going to be left onto Torzi. Can't get it done. Reitz with the 3k to clutch out the round. So certainly a challenge. Coolio trying his best. It's not enough. A 13-2 half overall. Absolutely insane. Definitely not what I was expecting personally.
No, this is definitely a rough one for Budapest 5. I'm sort of sat here questioning like why on earth they went for this map, because they tried nothing other than an A take. I think they went B once in the entire map, which that's unacceptable. I think they also tried ramp maybe once in the entire map. So yeah, I don't know if this normally works against other teams, but this is a very flat T side we've seen from them. And we used to get 13-2 halves in Nuke all the time, but I'm not really having much faith at this point. Reit's already going to be finding the opener onto Fleeve. Torzi's got the bomb. Now, Snacks, I don't know if he was trying to be sneaky Snacks and get the bomb down on the B site without anybody knowing, but instead, well, he's a little bit lucky because Veggie's managed to reclaim it. He's going to go back in, though. If he loses again, this could be a problem. But look at the remaining Ts. They've come flanking him from the ramp, looking to get him from behind. A duel one, Veggie and Mouse combining. Then they get flanked as well. It's a weird round for sure, but the pistol still will go the way of ILLUMINAR. Final nail in the coffin. I think this one might be done.
Yeah, classic sitcom moment from Snacks, but it's all good because they don't lose the round. I think it certainly could have been awkward. So, of course, parry match. I think the odds not coming up anymore just because it would be too
million to one.
Point.
Million and one, I think. I don't
it's
think
already
they'll give
going
those
bad
odds
enough for Budapest
because
5.
That would be silly. You don't want to put that down, but that's basically what I would put it at this point. Not that I'm going to give anybody those odds because I don't have that much money to pay out, but you'd probably be paying me anyway. Nice little crossfire setup, but Veggie has just torn straight through it. He's having a game and a half, 22-8. In fact, his teammate even trying to weaken him a bit so that it's a bit fairer on the opponents. And, well, let's not do that.
Yeah,
15-2.
It's far too early. This is, yeah, this is a little... Well, a lot of rough, to be honest. Like, I don't know what to say. The second map as well. I mean, Budapest 5 play it, but if their T side of this map is anything to go off of, just bashing their heads at the A bomb site, you know, might work on Vertigo, to be fair. But just the momentum that they're giving across to ILLUMINAR in this matchup so far is a lot to play with. Okay, there we go. Torzi looking good with the Deagle, though, so getting something done in this round. A 4v3, a man advantage for Budapest 5. Never thought I would see the day. And here we are. So, recovery required from ILLUMINAR. They do have control of that B bomb site. The bomb has gone down, but now into a 4v2. PHR holding the flank as well. Timing going to be absolutely everything. There is a player towards Hell, but if he looks away at the wrong time, or which he may well have done, so this flank could be successful from the CT side here. Gonna turn around and watch for it, but unfortunately can't catch Torzi. All left onto Reitz. He can't get it done either. Only good for one. So there we are. Budapest 5 will stay alive for another round.
Yeah, they had to get that done relatively quickly as well, because I don't think they had a kit in this situation at all. It wouldn't be the best way to lose the map. I still think that there is a 0% chance of them actually turning this around. I think they'd be lucky to get to Budapest 5 at this point. I think probably the chances are they'll either be Budapest 3 or Budapest 4. But, yeah, ILLUMINAR having a slip-up, I guess you could say. And it has given over a fair few rifles. Corey going to stick to just a UMP. Smoke's outside. I'm hoping it's not going to be anything like the last half where we see them thrown, but there's no actual value in them. And the thing is, I am pretty sure with Fleeve already doing it, having a little bit of aggression outside, he's going to be able to find out. Nice work from Corey, though. That UMP coming up trumps once again. Fleeve has already shut down another couple. And this is looking like an absolute whitewash. 15-4. Budapest 5 looking good. And maybe they will get to 5 at least.
I think you mentioned it in the first half, right? Towards the end, where maybe their CT side would be wild and wacky. And that certainly seems to be the case, right? It's just a question of how long it lasts. It feels all but inevitable that we'll be moving to map 2 somewhat prematurely. So, building confidence, building momentum for the next map is kind of what we're giving Budapest 5 after these rounds. Some flashes of hope. Who knows, if they started on the CT side, could have been a very different story, but you really do need a T side prepared, particularly if you're going to be picking Nuke. Does seem a little foolish if you're not ready in that sense. All the same, looking good here. They have lost a member, but so far nothing really to worry about. Torzi, easy pickings, just shooting gallery outside right now with no smokes down, no utility to work off of. Reitz has recovered an A1S, but he is all alone. And of course, no armor to work with. Takes another head. You need to be careful here, but all good. Kolor catches him off guard. So, bare minimum of 3 for Budapest 5 when you're on that comeback train. Winning rounds cleanly is very, very important. 10 more in a row to go.
Yeah, still don't believe. Nice work coming out from Torzi. He's been a bit quiet in this match. Know that he can definitely pop off, and he will have his AWP. This purchase, okay, I was about to say, that looked mental before the overlay reloaded, but they have actually invested fully into this round. Not the greatest of purchases, a few pieces missing in terms of utility, but for ILLUMINAR, they only need one. So a cheesy strat around where somebody takes over, and we've had plenty of those thus far in this matchup. That would be enough. That's all they really need. So I don't think they're going to be overly worried in this sort of situation. For the CT side, I'm hoping that they still have the confidence to go for a little bit of aggression. Like, take some map control. Nuke is not a map where you necessarily need to be overly aggressive, but at the same time, you want to try and fight for outside. You want to try and make sure that you at least know where the take is going. Something that the likes of ILLUMINAR actually did very well in the last half with pushes on ramp and, well, mostly just denying A takes, but here's the utilization of some smokes. It's a miracle. I can't believe I'm finally saying it, but they have crossed over. They've gone towards the B bomb site. There has been a rotation already, though, and Fleeve is ready and waiting.
Solid here as well. Nice double for him. In comes Kolor from the side. That's a great setup. To use your phrase, whitewashed completely, to be honest. Not a single point of damage. This is the cleanest round up until that point that we'd seen from Budapest 5. Snacks with a nice double. So far damage, a possible bomb plant. Coolio is in a great position to deny this away, though. Yeah, finds that frag easily enough. So up to 6. They've done it. They've broken the Budapest 5, now the Budapest 6 apparently, but still not quite believing just yet. It's definitely ticking down. 9 more in a row to go. There's so much work. And it's just one mistake, one silly early fight or mechanical error could end up costing them the game. So really no room to breathe here on this CT side of things.
Well, that's the thing about Nuke nowadays as well, is that teams are starting to prove that you can win the T side on a fairly regular basis. That's how Astralis built their name on this map. It's actually what Godsend were doing in quite a lot of the matches that we saw from them during both Masters recently and in the past as well. Like, they've proven that you can definitely do it when it comes to the T side. And to see both teams, well, I say both teams, ILLUMINAR have played a few rounds when it comes to buys, so I'm not going to put them in the same bracket just yet, but it shouldn't be dominant on the CT side anymore. We're looking at like maybe 9-6 halves as the sort of standard, maybe even 8-7 depending on the teams. And as I said, it's very much possible nowadays to win on the other side. Again, we're seeing Snacks try and be sneaky, wanted a B-site bomb plan, but it seems like Budapest 5 have made the decision to dedicate a player on the lower bomb site. I don't think that's necessarily a bad call. especially with the potential event dives in round like this. It sort of sets you up to deny extra money going in your opposition's way. And for the side of Budapest 5, money's not really going to be an issue for them at this point. Like, they are a one and done. The only way that their economy is being truly trashed is, say, if they manage to win rounds without anybody surviving, which chance of that happening are slim to none. Maybe a one player survive every round for like 3 rounds in a row, but again, chances of that are slim. So they're going to have money no matter what. The problem is, can they deny stuff in the purchases of ILLUMINAR? Because that can be far more helpful. Reduce their purchase, make the rounds a little bit easier for yourself. And well, ILLUMINAR, they're going to change up the pace. Push towards the vent side. Mouse already gets the opener. And again, this is a situation we haven't really had to see the CT side deal with just yet, Scriv, because they've been winning a lot of these openers.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? That could make the difference. Trades coming in thick and fast, but it's still a solid advantage right now for ILLUMINAR. So Coolio or Fleeve or a combination of the two, really going to have to pick up the mantle. Fleeve giving his position away, spots a player in the hut, but doesn't quite know that they are pulling a fast one. Oh, and it could be a super effective fast one. Both of the remaining CTs are up towards A. Not ready for this B hit at all. And I think a 4v2 defense could be doable, right? Someone gets overlooked, gets a double, maybe even a triple, but a 4v2 retake is a hell of a lot harder. EHR so deep in, not ready at all for that one, Fleeve. And now Coolio's the only one left. 1v4, a dream, 73 HP, and very quickly turns it into a 1v3. It would be a hell of a thing if he could pull this off, but they know pretty much exactly where he's coming from now with all the spam and whatnot. There's a smoke in the way. I think one available to refresh. Doesn't really matter. Snacks finds it with the nade in the end. Few bullets for good measure and a 16-7 finish. As we said, just kind of delaying the inevitable in the end, unfortunately. Budapest 5, their T side, really not strong enough at all for Nuke.
No, that was a really disappointing performance. I honestly thought, I was like, okay, they picked this, they've got to have something here. You know as well when you pick a map that you start on the T side, so unless they think they're the greatest comeback kings in all of history, that was an atrocious T side. Like, I can't say anything else. I genuinely think they went towards the A side 11 rounds, and I don't even mean like, oh, with wraparounds or pushing from different angles. I just mean like brute force straight pushes into the site. And you're not going to break a team like ILLUMINAR like that. In fact, I think that's the worst thing you could do. I would say ILLUMINAR a lot of the time rely on their individual skill. Decent tactics, but not anything that's going to like blow our minds when it comes to like how they've actually adapted, how they've changed things. So I would personally say that you want to have a deeper strategical pull if you're going to go towards them on that map, challenge the B site more. I think we only saw them fight ramp once, and they came up against Snacks' ASUS. So yeah, some serious work to do, some serious adaptations needed if they're going to do anything when it comes to Vertigo, Script.
Yeah, it's a wild pick for their playstyle, but to be fair, for Vertigo, it could work a little bit better. They have the pick of the side here as well. Maybe get off to a strong start on the CT end of things, move on to the T side, and just pummel it home. It did look kind of good in places on their CT end. It was just that case, of course, of losing the pistol, and then if they get caught off in any of these rounds, it's over. So we'll see. I'm quietly confident for their Vertigo, but then the amount of room and momentum that they've just given across to ILLUMINAR, is it now too much to come back from?
Well, I assume, I didn't ask this beforehand because I am a fool, but I'm assuming we're going off to a break here. So there should be another map coming up in the moment. It is going to be Vertigo. So we'll see you then.
should have said. But I slept on those words instead. You haunt the stairways in my head. You're the monster under my bed. Reach for me when I repent, and I should have learned. I should have learned. You're the monster under my bed, making mess that you try to address, not come to terms with the monster under my bed. Secrets I should have. You spill them up as I collect. But I fall for it a million times like a battle. I was just one peek inside. You're the mystery with hair of history. My hands are red. You're the monster under my bed. Reach for me when I repent. I should have learned. I should have learned. You're the monster under my bed, making mess that you try to address, cannot come to terms with the monster under my bed. I should have learned.
I always felt like I'm on the outside, never fit in. Watch the world pass me by, black hole trying to chase the sunrise. Every day I was on my own, can't see my hurt cause I'm a ghost. In the crowd I still felt alone, yeah. But then we found each other, and everything turned around. From broken heart to another. You never let me down. You never let me down. Ooh. Even when my world gets all fucked up, crashing to the ground. You never let me down. You never let me Even when my world gets all fucked up and comes crashing to the ground, you never let me down. You never let me down. Blue skies never look so gray. The brighter the stars, the more I just fade. Couldn't see how anything changes. Some days I could barely wake up. The voices inside, they told me give up, and I almost did, yeah. found each other, and everything turned around. One broken heart to another. You never let me down. You never let me down. Ooh. Even when my world gets all fucked up and comes crashing to the ground, you never let me down. You never let me Even when my world gets all fucked up and comes crashing to the ground, you never let me down. You never let me down.
Headshot, nice. Fist bumps go to the teammates. I wanna hear your go, go, go. I wanna see you rolling fast. Win the round. Win the game. Pretty much. They play, you win.
Hello and welcome back to the European Development Championship, which is of course brought to you by Gaming Malta. the home of gaming excellence. Now, we have just witnessed our first map script. Now, we were hoping that the Budapest 5 would come in here. They picked Nuke. They were like, you know what? This is our map. We're going to go to the Poles. We're going to take it home. And they got smashed. They did the same thing again and again. And, yeah, ILLUMINAR just kind of went, well, your smokes outside aren't really fooling us anymore because you did that 6 or 7, maybe even 8 other times. So I'll be honest, I was bitterly disappointed with what I saw from the Hungarians. I'm sure they're not too happy themselves. Now we go into Vertigo. Now, this is the choice of the Poles, a map that they played pretty much as any other. The third map is also their most played map. So, as said, they've done very, very well in this veto. Going into Vertigo, do you genuinely believe it's going to be any different after that performance?
I mean, it's certainly a map that hands itself a bit better to doing the same thing over and over. But there's like an equal amount of comfort here, if not more, for ILLUMINAR, right? In a lot of different ways. Like you talk about statistically, it's their pick as well. And of course, just the fact that yes, they pick up a few more rounds towards the end of Nuke on their CT side, but how much of that is just down to ILLUMINAR getting a bit complacent? You know, you and I have casted a lot of Counter-Strike. I'm sure we've seen that many, many times. It gets to 15, and in their head, they're so far ahead, they kind of feel they've already won the map anyway. So they maybe start getting a little crazy and making a few mistakes here and there. So
those odds are pretty rough, innit?
They are maybe slightly more than I would have expected, but all the same, I could definitely see where Parimatch are coming from. It needs a big turnaround. It needs a strong CT start. You know, if they're having to worry about economy and all that, I don't think they'll have a good time here. I think more than 7, certainly, but winning the map is still. I don't think it's quite possible after what we've just seen.
Well, let's put it this way: if you do believe that they can win this map or they will win this map, then go put your money where your mouth is, I guess. Parimatch have offered you a big stake, I guess you could say, with over 7 odds, which is pretty ridiculous. Like, you're going to be making some crazy money off that. But nonetheless, we are going into our pistol round. It is going to be the CT side start for ILLUMINAR as well. That means Budapest 5 chose to start on the T side. And, well, you know what? They're running into Veggie. Flashbang is perfect, but he peeks into the blender. Had to avoid all of the bullets his teammates have, however, come into support. Coolio getting a trade, but they haven't spotted out Reet. Now, although it is a 1 versus 2, both players are desperately low. Mouse just needs to land a bullet on either of them. But if they peek this together, maybe there's a chance.
Certainly is. Oh, and the smoke's really not perfect. It's well played by Miles. He recognizes that it's a desperate attempt to the smoke, right? To allow the escape of Fleeve doesn't happen. Now he's able to drop back. I think that info comes in for him from a teammate that the bomb was dropped in an awkward spot. He has to play towards you. And, well, ring around the rosy here, retracing the footsteps. Miles, is he going to be savvy to this? Not at all. Coolio gets the drop on him. And Budapest 5 once again securing the T-side pistol. Awfully close this time, but they'll be happy to get it done.
Wow. At least in terms of the map statistics, they have given a little bit more over. Even with the pistol round, though, this time, it's not really gone fantastically well. And maybe that's because in the last map, we did see ILLUMINAR actually win themselves the force buy. They've gone back in with the pistols once again. Snacks, again, is just going to be saving some extra money to get the AWP in play. And while for the rest of the team, they put all of their cash on the table, got themselves even head armor on the majority of players, and made sure they've got some utility. For the T's, once more, they've played this one very safe, bought into 4 rifles, although this is a map where I actually would like to see 2 or maybe even 3 SMGs, just because of your ability to sort of dominate ramp play. If you can get up in the faces of your opponent very quickly, sure, this range battle does help you out a little bit with the rifles, but once you get past this threshold, once you get to the point where you're actually facing onto the site, I don't even think the rifles are that much more of an advantage anymore, because you want to be pushing forward, you want to be taking that control, at least to get yourself an afterplant, and then from afterplant positions, it's a very close range situation. Veggie, that was nuts. A crazy shot onto Corey, but he's lost 2 teammates in return. However, again, looking at the HP, it is dangerous times. And while this time, Veggie is not going to get a perfect flash. It is missed because of that Fleeve. It's getting some free shots, but they're still, again, taking a hell of a lot of damage.
Really need to be careful. I think with Coolio getting the control of B, though, should be all good. Okay, Miles. Yeah, I was going to say, there's definitely a chance he finds that one. Quick reaction from him. Gives the game away. Torzi is incredibly low. Kolor not too far behind him. It's awfully close. Thank goodness Kolor is on the ball. Gets it done for Budapest 5. It's still a very, very costly round. But I think losing the force buy in the same fashion as they did on Nuke really would not be the beginning that they want to, you know, the map to keep them alive and whatnot. So getting 2 in a row, clutching it up, super, super important just for the mental, if nothing else.
Oh, this is something I've noticed quite a bit, actually. Budapest 5 don't check angles properly. Like, that is a very, very common spot, especially in a round where you don't have much to play with. And they just let it go by. It happened an awful lot when it came to Nuke, that they were just not clearing their angles. And they've lost a couple of players here.
Oh, no.
Case in point. Like, sure, maybe you shouldn't be expecting somebody to be there, but if you're going to push that aggressively, you have got to check angles. And this round, it's still looking bleak in terms of winning it for the side of ILLUMINAR, but they have already made this far more costly than it ever should have been. They've dropped 3 players. They even got one of those kills with a Mac 10, which means Reitz has some extra cash. Luckily, the remaining 2 players in the form of Kolor and Coolio are going to clean things up. But that's still 3 players lost in a round where there was basically nothing invested for ILLUMINAR.
Some of those issues from Nuke definitely still prominent here. They're winning the rounds this time, but yeah, over-aggression, foolish mistakes. It's a weird one. It's almost as though, like, they just expect ILLUMINAR to play how Budapest 5 want them to play in their heads, you know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, I'm looking here, so hopefully there's someone around the corner that's going to peek me, rather than someone sat in a corner. Even, it's such a good point that you raised, right? When you're on a Mac 10 especially, or something like that, you just kind of go flying in, check all your angles. Maybe you have to do a double take and it gets a bit awkward and you could go down because of it, but you look less of a fool, I suppose. Oh, Torzi on the AWP. Comes close. Lot of early damage done onto these Budapest 5 players. So this first rifle round, there's always a lot of weight on it, but even more so, I think, for the T side, because almost instantly it feels like ILLUMINAR could close the gap if they pick this one up.
Stacks actually going to go for some delayed control. They've used a lot of utility to make sure that this ramp is going to be in their favor. Boosted player as well. Now, they should definitely expect Snacks to be here, especially with how common it is for aggression. But that's 2 easy kills. 1 through the box. Fleeve will eventually trade, but the damage has been done. It now sets up the remaining players to know that there's multiple around this ramp. Veggie playing close, another dual 1, and even gets back around the corner, takes a reface, a risky push, but he makes it look easy. 2 HP, Coolio, sure, he's managed to gain some mid control and does eventually kill off Mouse. Now, with 1 player also low, there is a possibility that he can at least make this costly, but just look at the economy for the T side, Scriv. Like, saving this AK is not a good thing, but it might be necessary.
I think it's the best of a bad situation, really. Pick your poison kind of deal. Not great at all, Budapest 5. A shaky start. They gain a lead. But yeah, it just doesn't... I don't know, man. It's kind of wild. I feel like instead of swinging to get the trade, you should just be set up and ready for it anyway. Like you say, it's fairly telegraphed in the way that they were sat. Definitely says they were indeed thinking that someone's getting aggressive, covering the boost up and whatnot, but just not covering it very well. Very strange, but speed being employed, of course. Budapest 5 going back to the old rush A tactic. They do get ramp control. Costs them a hell of a lot of HP. They do manage to get it with pretty much everybody left alive. A couple of them just scraping by. That second nade really, really setting up the final nail in these 2 coffins for Corey and Kolor.
I do like the nade that they threw as well, though. It's an HE that actually denies a peek from Veggie. Like, he was expecting to swing wide on that face, but the nade stops him from doing so. Slowing him down. Good flashbang as well. PHR is going to fall as we look at the entries coming in almost flawlessly. They get a multi-frag push into the site. However, they've lost some in response. A bomb plant is fantastic. And now in the after-plant situations, it's actually looking pretty bleak for the side of ILLUMINAR. Sure, 2 of the players are low, but getting back in is going to be relatively difficult, especially with an AWP in the hands of Snacks. It doesn't really allow for much space to be garnered. Eventually, flashbang thrown through. They're going to need Mouse to get at least a kill or 2 in this sort of situation because Snacks isn't really going to be able to do a massive amount. Although the peak comes in, he actually wins the duel. However, the trade's coming through, and Torzi is going to close out the round. Budapest 5 make it work with the pistols. They take a lot of early damage, but in the actual push onto the site, they did very well indeed.
I think this is part of it for me. Just kind of watching that and the way that ILLUMINAR respond. It's so much easier to bring your opponents down to your level on Vertigo. Getting the chaos going. And having them kind of swing in and, you know, get down and dirty sort of thing. Whereas on Nuke, I just think it's so much harder to pull them in and to get them to go for wide swings when they see you coming into the A-bomb site. There's one frag in there. It's a 3v3. I can't quite remember who it was, but trying to deny the plant, goes for a wide swing, dies, and that ends up making the difference. Whereas on Nuke, it's like, okay, they're more chilling, they're in position, and they don't feel the need to get as aggressive to pick up the pieces in a 3v3. So we'll see whether that keeps happening for ILLUMINAR. It's early days yet, and of course a pause coming in, but we'll have to see. Early 1-for-1 in this round. Much faster approach from the CT side especially, and there's a couple more around this corner here. The Deagle of Veggie looking good. Picks up 1.5 kills essentially. Reets, unfortunate. He expected the push to keep on coming, but drops back. So it ends up only being the 1-for-1. But still, with a buy like this, keeping things even, I think the CT side are pretty happy. And they are not playing flat-footed at all, just bouncing around the map. Wherever there is, presence or whatever, they're ready for it. So this could be a really strong setup.
Yeah, no, they have everyone here. They've read this perfectly. They spotted them as they went for their little flashbang. There's so much information garnered. And they haven't checked the close angle. Like, how many angles are we going to see? The Budapest 5 just don't check. Oh, I'm not going to lie. Like, they're winning, but they're doing things that are tilting me quite hard. Like, there are angles on this map which you cannot let go. Like, it's just not acceptable. And even though they're winning, you can still see that even the odds are still firmly... Well, not firmly, but they're still in the favor of ILLUMINAR, and I can see why. Like, that is one of those close angles, especially in a round where you know where they have pistols and SMGs. You have to check. You can't just walk into that one dry. In fact, most teams will even spam. Now, I understand why they didn't spam the wood, because they were trying to almost go for a surprise attack. But when you've seen players, like, popping flashbangs like that, you have to assume they know you're there. Now, Maus, again... Another situation where I think you just have to talk about the teams reading the economy. Like, you should know, again, that this is a pistol round or a weaker buy, and each player's just throwing themselves into the blender. This almost seems like a battle for who can destroy their own economy the most. Because that's now the last round, which I think was a massive misplay from Budapest 5. And then on the other side, if anything, this is even worse from ILLUMINAR. Like, you have one player go aggressive when the chances are there's only pistols in this round because of how much damage you've been doing to the economy. And then the other player jumps into the site, flying through the air, and gets killed. Like, it's just silly.
I think this is it. This is kind of what I was talking about, right? Where it's like, you know, ILLUMINAR playing down to their level, coming in, they're a map up, swinging their arms about like Tony Two Tellies, and just kind of going with it, really. So I don't know. It looks a little messy in places where... Maus, you can kind of get on board with it, going on an information gathering mission that doesn't go so well, but yeah, Reets not respecting how close they could be, and just flying around corners, making a few mistakes here and there that Budapest 5 are capable of exploiting. I don't think they've had a good time on Nuke. It's a weird pick for them, but now they're coming into it. It's a best of two, completely fresh slate, and I think they are a really good team at just not letting past results of the series affect them. And we're definitely seeing that with the way that they're playing here. Meanwhile, ILLUMINAR... Okay, that's unlucky. I guess there was a gap in the smoke as Veggie was trying to hide away. But all the same, not expecting too much out of this round with the pistols supporting the saved weaponry. I would imagine the goal here, honestly, for ILLUMINAR is to try and save again. Maybe they get really lucky and come away with something strong.
Like, Coolio has already gained far too much ground. This round is over within the first few seconds. Like, it's a stack. Understandable that it's not quite gone their way. The pistol players can go and try and do a bit of extra damage, steal a gun. The rest of the players should just be holding onto their weaponry. But yeah, Budapest 5. Like, I will sort of expect both these teams to get more rounds on the T side. Although this is a map where I think at the moment, at least, it's relatively balanced in how it's played. I think that both of these teams have shown me that thus far, they're going to be leaving openings and leaving space. Now, Budapest 5 did look better, I guess you could say, when it came to Nuke. Snacks, that might be one of the most depressing ways to lose an AWP I've ever seen. And now we just watch him fall all the way to his death. Well, I suppose he's already dead, to his doom. And they clean up every single weapon. So at least on the hunt, again, Budapest 5 have done a very good job of cleaning things up. A fairly easy round for them to take, but they're now looking good. Like, whether it's off a few mistakes coming out from ILLUMINAR or not, if you've already got 6 rounds out of 8 when you're looking at a map like Vertigo, you're going to be very happy with that. Now, there is an investment back in. Snack still manages to purchase himself another AWP, but he could have had his last one if he just managed to land a second P250 bullet.
Needs a really big turnaround from ILLUMINAR here. The energy, the momentum is all in favor of Budapest 5. This time around, the T side looks so much better. And it does beg the question where this was on the previous map. But like I've said before, we're just in this one. Clean sight. They're just chilling. And not dwelling too much on the failures of Nuke. Slower beginning into this round, though. 1 minute and 5, as they've sort of feigned pressure at middle.
What?
Okay, Snack's finding the first.
What did PHR just shoot? He just shot a wall. Just like, hello, wall, and then just walked away. Like, what was going on there?
Needs a new mouse, probably.
Yeah, just double-clicking it or something. That's weird. Coolio then gets an opener onto the B side. He's been doing well so far. I've been quite critical of Budapest 5, but I think he himself has actually been showing some real promise when it comes to the entries. And being a B site lurk is not an easy job. And normally it just revolves 1v1s. Color now retrieving the AWP. Someone who used to man it as a primary AWP in the past, but Torzy has taken that mantle away from him. And again, this is a very easy take for them. They get the opener. The retake is disjointed and just individual duels, which they are winning. And ILLUMINAR are yet to show anything, really. I guess the only rounds we've really witnessed them take, again, are off what I would call mistakes on the other side of things. Fleeve cleaning things up. They're not doing a great job of saving weapons either. It just comes down to whether or not they can basically just win battles. Like, they're not... A lot of teams, when they go for, like, saves, they try and save together in a crossfire. ILLUMINAR are not doing that. They're just like, I will hide here, I will try and kill everyone, and if I don't, I will lose my gun. Snacks, just about manages to keep the AWP. I would like to see them take a pause. I think at this point, this is way out of control. And they are going to take one. And in that time, of course, you can go over to Hellcase, use their code, and get yourself a 15% refill. So you've got the time to do it now, because it's going to be 30 seconds while we wait to see whether or not ILLUMINAR can come up with a solution. But in all honesty, I think the solution, again, go back to what you were doing before. Take the ramp control. That was going quite well. Like we saw the round with Snacks, where he's able to find the double opener doing that. Try not to get too aggressive in maybe the early few seconds, just because a lot of teams will pre-fire spam. Utility usage from them has not been too bad. The problem has been, it seems like their defensive positioning, and more so the B site. Like, the B site was either completely abandoned, which, well, that's not ideal. And then on the other side of things, if they get one entry, that's enough. And I feel like ILLUMINAR don't necessarily take the retake seriously enough. Like it seemed like one player, but okay, I'll go. Don't worry, guys. Get on my back. I've got this. I'm gonna win this the round, and they don't.
It's a great spot from Snacks if he doesn't get checked.
If he doesn't get checked,
Ooh.
I'm gonna be salty.
Okay, there we go. Very nice, very nice.
Oh, no!
Oh, that's awkward. Yeah, I think he's kind of dead to rights there. He may well have smoked it off, but not like the support is all that strong, and I think they're just going to wait, really. He's missed his window of opportunity. The second molly comes in as the smoke dissipates, and there he goes. Fleeve clapping heads. Okay, just completely butchering the A-bomb site. That'll be the round. No wackiness here. No chance at all for ILLUMINAR. And Budapest 5 move up to 8. So they'll secure the victory in the half. Looking really, really good. And I think there's a few issues. We'll see what happens in this next buy round, of course, after the timeout. The last timeout that they had, I think it was like 4-2. Didn't really work out for them either. So this one definitely has to. And you know, you talked about the ramp control and how effective it was earlier on. I think part of their issue has been weaker economy, weaker utility, and kind of lacking in the confidence that they once had. But it certainly would be good to see some more proactivity from them in this upcoming rifle round. So that's a bit awkward. Fleeve comes away with his 4K though. It's pretty damn solid on the 13-7.
I will say I've always hated like the excuse of confidence, especially when it comes to like this ILLUMINAR roster, because I don't believe that for a second. Like I think you have to be. He may not have aggressively peaked, but I think you have to be very confident to try and play sandbags with an AWP. I think, in fact, you have to be a little bit mental, because you're gonna get mollied. Like if he played that situation and his teammate had smoked the molly almost instantly, then I would have been like, okay, that was a plan. That was something they had like strategized. Instead, no. And why? If you genuinely believe that Snacks is low on confidence, well, he's just tried to push down the ladder in middle. Like, he's definitely fine with the confidence. Unfortunately, it just seems like he's whiffing his shots at the moment, and they're being caught out. Budapest 5 are prepared for a lot of this. Veggie, same duel we saw earlier. Gonna get that opener, push through the Molotov. Goes Fleeve. He's been great as well. 14-7. A lot of impactful openers into the site. This round, they're going to need him again, but they've already done a reasonable amount of damage. I don't think that's what he meant to do, though. I think he was hoping that the Molotov was already faded and that the smoke would go a bit deeper, giving him some control. Instead, he's basically just smoked himself off.
Walking out into the crosshair of Kolor goes Reeds. I don't know. There's flashes of moments, but
I'd just say bring on Mirage.
Yeah, I don't know, man. They just don't look as confident. This is part of what we were talking about with the Budapest 5. You've got to be ready for them. You can get caught off guard. Even map to map. As I said, they do really well at just mentally resetting. As I think a lot of teams at this kind of level do, right? Where they can be like, okay, just not our day on that map. It was a crazy kind of pick. We've really worked on this A hit, but it isn't working here. So now we don't know what to do on Nuke. You know, it worked the other day, but they were ranked 90th in the world, not 35th or whatever ILLUMINAR are at. So
I don't know. I think I would look at this and say that although Budapest 5 at least individually have got better and they've snowballed this map, I actually think that ILLUMINAR are just playing much worse. Like, if you look at the way they set up on Nuke, they had decent crossfires. They had very quick rotations. They were proactive in their CT side. They made sure that the second the take came in, they had counter utility to deny the push, and then they had players rotating in to support the players that were already in position. In this case, in the last round, we saw Veggie take an individual fight. We then saw a re-peek into mid, which was an individual fight. We had Snacks push down the ladder, which was an individual fight. There's no team play here whatsoever. In fact, the first bit of team play we've seen in a while has probably been them trying to fight this together with the Deegs, but then it falls back into individual battles. Veggie continues to play the fight. You've got Mouse now pushing on the other side. So sure, ILLUMINAR will win a round or two, but they're not playing as a team. They are playing as a group of individuals who are just trying to win themselves battles. In a round like this, I'm fine with that. The problem is it's not just been this round. It has been every round that someone has then tried to be the hero. If they fail, then someone else tries. And that doesn't work on a defense. Like, you need to have some sort of structure, some sort of synergy. And in the early rounds, we saw that with their grenades. So they were setting up well on the day side. But it seems like since that stopped working, they've just gone back to a very loose style of play. That shot from PHR might just be a round winner, though. Somehow, ILLUMINAR have actually done very well in a round with very little. I guess this time they managed to win all of those duels that they took individually. I don't think it's something that can be sustainable, but it might be enough to go, okay, we've got weaponry, we've got utility, we've got everything we need. Hopefully it will be enough now.
Pretty lucky, I think, in places as well with this round. Some of the timings and, of course, through the smoke and all that kind of stuff. Like you say, just very, very hard to replicate. So it's a chance, though. It's something to work with. I think the 9-6 that is possible. Relatively decent recovery from them. So, and of course, we didn't get to see all that much of their T side on Nuke. Oh, this is such an awkward spot for Veggie to be in. Hapsy live! Oh my goodness, the flashes must have been absolutely massive, incredibly effective. They've regained some of their confidence as well, rushing straight in, finding frags, bringing it down to a 2-on-2. The bomb's been recovered, but this is one of the scrappier and albeit closer rifle rounds that we've had for quite some time. It's all come to a standstill with a minute left on the clock. Torzi just sticking around with the AWP. Snacks, meanwhile, is middle, so little do they know. They could isolate Mouse, get a quick trade on him, or even just overwhelm him with the numbers. Snacks, meanwhile, is gaining more and more and more information. Flanking with an AWP. Always weird, but it's Snacks. I think it's what he likes to go for. Well-timed peek from Mouse, meanwhile, drops the bomb as well. So Snacks maybe wants to pick up the pace here and seal the deal into round 13. But Mouse, goodness me, crispy stuff to finish off. There you go. ILLUMINAR seem to have refound their mojo.
I guess it's still one of those rounds where I look at it and go, you basically just won the duels. Like, I'm not going to sit here and talk about that being a strategical masterpiece. Like, they get aggressive, a good flashbang, I guess. You can talk about that, and then a few whiffs here and there from the T side, not being able to kill off those players. But yeah, it's basically just continue to get aggressive. That's the strategy. Just keep trying to fight. This time we've actually seen a fallback, but come on, you know they're rushing the ramp. You got to be ready for that, PHR. And we've been one of the better players for them thus far. Reeds is the one actually having a howler of a game. Snacks now in rotation. Veggie's still trying to fight, and the rotation from Mouse is yet to move. But I imagine once the bomb goes down, he is going to start that rotation. As said, I feel like they're a lot more proactive when it came to their rotations and their peaks on Nuke. Whereas now, well, we'll see. Retake 4v5. They've been unsuccessful, I think, every single time thus far. So maybe this is the one.
Maybe. Kind of need it to be, I think, at this point to keep their hopes of at least 5 rounds alive. Snacks does get one, quickly traded back. Smoke onto the bomb. They are finding the frags here. A couple trades coming in, but it's being kept even. Bomb tapped. Oh, wild spray from Coolio. Gets it done with the help of Torzi. And they will take that double digits finally on the Budapest 5 side of things. ILLUMINAR now sweating a bit more for the nice-ish finish to this half. They don't have a lot of money to work with, and it does come close, but I think unfortunately not quite fast enough, not quite enough pressure towards ramp to pick that retake up. Solid stuff to open up for Budapest 5, of course. Unsuccessful for Snacks. Certainly not ideal. I mean, I kind of get the proactivity, taking things aggressive, but needed it to work, to be honest. It's looking good for the 11. A recovery required from the rest of the CT side here. And the aggression apparently does not stop, but the MP9 of Veggie finds a lot of success. That's a big 2K. Gives them a really good chance into this round now. 4-on-3. The bomb as well is actually dropped behind. Of course, the CTs don't know that, but Budapest 5 will have to turn tail, will have to slow down and find that, in all honesty. Things not looking too good. DHR, meanwhile. Okay, and Mao's also chiming in. So looking solid here. Budapest 5, very final hurdle of the first half. Somewhat dropped it, unless Coolio can clutch up at this point. But we'll see. We know exactly where he is. He does have the bomb. There is no flank. There's only he and the 3 CTs remaining. Wild Flash goes in. Yeah, but the double peak, it's so hard on that B-bomb site. Either way, 10-5. I mean, pretty damn good for Budapest 5. But I don't know. I think they'll be kicking themselves a little bit that they didn't fully pummel like an 11-4, 12-3 even into ILLUMINAR. And like I say, we didn't really see an awful lot of their T-side on Nuke, so who knows? Who knows? This could be a big turnaround from them. I think pick up the pistol, first rifle round, they could give a taste of Budapest 5's own medicine. In the sense of keeping that, you know, economy under the cosh and whatnot.
Yeah, of course.
Shift in the odds.
Yeah, not really surprising. I think that was an incredibly disappointing half from ILLUMINAR. And as I said, it was very much based on individual plays, winning them a few rounds here and there. But I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, yeah, that was an incredible. Themselves into some pretty good position, more structured if they might have had a bit of a tough.
So far, we've just had question marks, really, haven't we? Now, full utility bought up for Coolio, no kit, interestingly enough, for that CT side. Meanwhile, on ILLUMINAR, they've got 2 players with a nice thick belt of utility as well. So maybe some plans for these nades.
You'd have to hope so. If there weren't plans for these nades, I'd probably be quite worried for the Polish side. On
That's
the
true.
Other side of things, we do have a singular smoke available. And it's just going to be a take towards this A site. Not a massive amount of defense, at least here initially, but with the amount of aggression that has gone on elsewhere on the map, it actually won't be too bad a point for the side of Budapest 5. They're almost allowing an awful lot of this control, though. Corey's got into position to try and play the bait and switch. He's got his teammate watching from afar. The nade over the top actually does a reasonable amount of damage to Fleeve, and he has to fall back. But Corey has won his duel, even gets himself a second before he fades away and leaves just PHR. It's not pretty from Fleeve, but nonetheless, they've won the pistol. 11-5 in their favor, looking like they're almost set to take this map.
Yeah, I think so, particularly denying the bomb plant away and everything. Super dominant opening from Budapest 5. If that is the barometer, if that's the way that things are going to go, then ILLUMINAR, a lot of work to do. And they kind of know it. They kind of know it. We see a lot of teams at this level experiment with the second round. I think ecoing is becoming more and more prevalent when you fail to plant the bomb. So, just looking to pull the AKs out as early as possible right now, and I think that's the wise choice. Not like you need a terrible amount of utility on this map, so it does kind of make sense to me, and getting the pressure as early as possible, but then you're also in that position of, if you fail with the early buy, then I think you're pretty much screwed, to be honest. You know, a really, really big turnaround would be required. Yeah, I was going to say, Miles might be in with a free one. Even then, on the Glock, it's hard if he reacts quick enough, but not to be. They're trying to hold some tight angles here, catch some players off guard. It's just not happening. So going exactly the way that you would expect into this anti-eco from the CT side. And they are checking their angles. What a miracle.
Yeah, it's good to see. I think a lot of the time in the first half that we didn't have to worry too much about that because the round was pretty much over as the bomb went down, but well, we are going to see a purchase. The T's will get those trusty AKs in hand. It's a worry that it's been such a quiet game from Reitz because he is someone that I think is fairly integral to the T sides of ILLUMINAR. So hoping that he'll step up and help them with those openers. Otherwise, again, we could be seeing an absolute blowout as we have done in the previous maps so far. Now, Miles is in position. He's expecting some aggression. You kind of hope for a flashbang here. They peek try and Coolio wins the duel. Miles couldn't do anything about that, it seemed, and that is not the start they were looking for. An upgrade of weapons for Coolio, who, as said, he's been fantastic so far, and he's continuing his aggression. Takes down Veggie. He's now dominating their spawn. PHR has just met his maker, and you almost start to wonder who's actually playing the T side at this point, because Coolio, oh, he's so far forward.
Reitz, that timing rough for him as well. I mean, some of it can be put down to just not holding your default well. Other bits, what can you do about the monster that is Coolio? And then, of course, like I say, Reitz getting very, very unlucky. Snacks in a 1-on-4. Does have the bomb. Bit of utility to work with. Very little information. Will catch Coolio off guard. There you go. I mean, I like the aggression. I don't think he's going to respect the fact that there's a big flank, a quick flank coming in. Yeah, caught completely off guard. And Budapest 5 come away with a clean first rifle. And like I said, the position that you're in as ILLUMINAR now is dire. Maybe take an eco and just try and send it in the next round. As you can see, the odds ever shifting. Looking good for Budapest 5.
Those odds were in favor of ILLUMINAR to win the map.
I'm
assuming that was meant to say match. Because if that was the map winner, that's mental. And people still believing that Budapest 5 are not going to win this one. But you never know. Maybe they know something I don't. But at this stage, I have my doubts very much on what the Poles are going to be able to do. They've invested into some pistols this round, a little bit of Kevlar as well, but just hoping to try and reduce the amount of money that's there. And on the other side of things, the CT side have pretty much got everything they need.
Where do ILLUMINAR go then? A minute left on the clock. They are, I think, just hoping to find the tip of the head at this point. They might just get their wish, to be fair. There's a number of players, around this corner. You do have a chance to land 1 or 2 stray bullets. So far, just a 1-for-1. They always work out for the T side, so it's a nice little bit of control towards the... Oh, no. He had an inkling, but looked away at the wrong time. Thankfully, Corey's around for the trade. Rotations are coming in. But still, an even scenario. Recovered weapons now. An aggressive peek to boot. It's certainly a doable round for ILLUMINAR. 2-on-2 and B control. So this suddenly gets interesting.
Oh, he hasn't spotted Mouse, but he's managed to avoid his opponent. Game of cat and mouse. Really are going to check the close angle. He does. A good clear. 19-8 for him. Doesn't wait for his teammate, though, which gives PHR a chance. The problem is, I think he's missed that opportunity. The whiff, but he hits the second shot. Kolor will take a bullet. And although it's not a round I'm sure Budapest 5 are going to be overly happy with the amount of players that they lost to what was just pistols, they've got it over the line. That's all that really matters. They get themselves to a 14th round, and with the amount of money that ILLUMINAR have, they will be buying in comfortably into the next. Could buy an AWP on every single player if they wanted to, although if they do, I'm out of here. I'm not going to be watching that Counter-Strike anytime soon. But, yeah, at 14-7, you kind of have to sit here now and just wait for Mirage. Like, both teams have been dominant on their opponent's map choice, which, well, it's weird, but at the same time, I feel like I'm seeing that a lot more. since we moved away from LAN events and gone into online. I feel like it doesn't really necessarily matter. And with both of these teams, it seems like they've almost come in as, I guess, just equals in terms of map pool. Like, both teams fairly want to play the same map, so I don't think it was that much of a weakness, so much so that earlier I actually got it mixed up and thought the team had chosen the other map.
I don't know what to tell you, mate. It's just how it goes sometimes. Again, at this kind of level, Fleeve opening up. Looks like we're back to regularly scheduled showings here. And the ILLUMINAR are continuing to push forwards. Interesting. To be fair, smoke comes in, but from a teammate, so kind of difficult to tell. They need to make sure that they follow that one up. They do have a few HEs available also, although none of them landing. I hope that HE that was thrown from the T side was not meant for sandbags, because it's not like it's a particularly difficult position to nade. But all the same, second and third, they're successful. And they will indeed take Corey down. So back into the 4-on-4. The A site hit looking a little stronger here. Still, Torzi up and above the smoke. Might not even be needed, because Fleeve, he's doing all the damage right now. Does eventually get traded after his 2-for-1. Drop the bomb. Secured a man advantage. Bought time. It's a really solid play. And ILLUMINAR once again up against it. Need to get a little lucky here. Coolio gets low. But I don't think it's looking too good. Snacks finds a pick, however, before the bomb goes down.
This is falling apart for Budapest 5. They played everything perfectly, but in terms of the battles, they're losing every single one. And Veggie puts another in the grave. 3 kills for him in this round. Snacks has picked up the remaining piece, and now Torzi left with the AWP to try and clutch. I don't see him getting past Veggie, and he definitely won't get past Snacks. That is a round that they should not be losing. They managed to deny long enough that all of the smokes faded. They dropped the bomb in a pretty horrific position, and they had a Molotov onto the site with, what, 15 seconds remaining? But they just don't play together. We needed to see them the second that bomb was being attempted to push in at once and basically just slaughter Snacks while they were planting. Instead, they tried to push a little bit early, even though the time was very low, and they give ILLUMINAR an opportunity. And well, we know that individually Veggie is a talented man, so you don't want to give this guy too many opportunities like that. Purchase will come back in, though, from the Budapest 5. However, Scriv, it is not ideal.
No, there's definitely room, isn't there? But it's a long road ahead. You've got to keep them away from 15 for as long as possible as well if you're ILLUMINAR. Or Fleeve. Once again, perfect positioning. And he's able to get away. So, you know, you don't want it much different than that, to be honest. It's an absolutely perfect play for the one frag, and he's still sticking around, still trying his best to defend. It's a nice little Molotov to push him away from the scaffold, but let's see here. Things are looking good. 5-on-4, low HP for Veggie as well. Budapest 5 looking very strong. There's 45 seconds left. ILLUMINAR have really not gained all that much ground as the time keeps on ticking down. A move has to be made soon. Snacks in his favourite position at sandbags. There you go. Does manage to catch one off guard, but maybe that's kind of the information that the rest of the CTs needed to strike. Fleeve, however, bites off a bit more than he can chew. The aggression, ill-advised, not successful at all. And it's actually now a man advantage for ILLUMINAR. They've not been able to deny the bomb plant, and it seems the round has turned upside down. They might even look to save here by the body language.
Yeah, I wouldn't be overly surprised. This sort of situation, you don't really have the finances to get back in. You don't have the utility either to try and clear out the back of that A site, and then the after plant spot, ILLUMINAR should be fairly decent. So they are going to get themselves to 7. Money going into the next round. I am intrigued as to whether or not the CTs will actually go for some sort of reinvestment. Their loss bonus isn't going to be anything too impressive. I believe it's around the 2,400 marker. In fact, it's even lower. It's only at 1,900. They lost a single round before getting to this point. And, well, because of that, even going into the next round, any purchases they go in for will just be straight rifles. There's not going to be any like extra grenades. There's not going to be an AWP. So it's a pretty awkward spot now because ILLUMINAR are slowly getting their way back into this match. And for Budapest 5, even just having the confidence of just winning this out quickly, it was going to be far more valuable. Because if this comes back to a sort of 14-10, 14-11, firstly, you could see ILLUMINAR getting back into it. But even then, if you close things out, ILLUMINAR are going to go, okay, well, we had a sucky CT side, but we've proven once again that we can do it on the T side. So they might be a little bit better about what has been a poor map for them.
Moving forwards into round 22 then.
They did force.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, time is their best friend right now, and they keep, you know, forcing their way in their minds. Eventually, it's going to work, but it still does make me worry a little when they don't have the 15 just quite yet. Reed's getting aggressive, taking down Corey, so another nice opener for ILLUMINAR to work with. Minute and 20 left on the clock. We'll see what Budapest 5 can find.
Yeah, it's been a quiet map for Reeds, but I think he's already been more impactful on this T side than we've seen on the CT side. As said, I think he's going to be an important factor when it comes to them on this map. And well, again, it seems like we're just seeing both teams attempting the same things, just throwing themselves into the wind, very aggressive plays, individual plays as well. And they're just being picked apart, ripped apart, you could say. One kill comes up in their direction. Coolio, of course, is normally the B-side defender, so he's not going to be in a position to do anything at all. And yeah, I think we're seeing the same issues. Like, both teams don't really have that sort of backbone when it comes to support. Like, you need those sort of flashbangs to come in. And sure, ILLUMINAR had a few of them, but it would then be based off, okay, can Veggie get a multi-frag off the back of it? For the side of Budapest 5, well, they just took raw duels. Like, the first player goes down. Sure, it was a good peek from Reeds, but then the second player just goes, okay, I'm going to run through the smoke and try and kill everyone. It's like, it's probably not going to work.
Like I say, they have plenty of time to work with, but it's starting to dwindle a little bit. And if this is their methodology, you can kind of see in your mind's eye that ILLUMINAR get this done. I mean, it's more down to the mistakes that we talk about that feel all but inevitable when you have this long of a road. But I think Budapest 5 need to, like, just decrease the chances that their variable comes into play. You know, them having a weaker buy or them making the mistakes. All the pressure really needs to be on ILLUMINAR to mount the comeback rather than Budapest 5 to win the game. They just need to breeze through, really, take it cool, play it properly, the same way they have been for the rest of this, not just CT half-bit game, and then focus in on Mirage. So I think perhaps having your mind already in Mirage early could be a bit of a problem. Still not quite believing just yet, but the signs are definitely there for ILLUMINAR to make this competitive, to get Budapest 5 sweating a little, and of course to pick up that all-important momentum going into the third map.
Well, yeah, the last map, they got a 13-2 half, so it's definitely doable for them. They've already lost themselves a couple of rounds, so maybe they can build the momentum here. And yeah, you sort of mentioned the third map, or the third map could even be a Mirage at this point, because it might not be happening at all. ILLUMINAR really starting to streak some rounds together. Fleeve, last one remaining. It's mainly been him and Coolio, who I think I've been thoroughly impressed with so far. Like, Torzi's someone in the past I've seen have some huge impact with that AWP. Today, not so much. I think he's been quite disappointing. I will say that the two maps that they sort of move towards don't really make a lot of sense for a team that not only has one AWPer, but also a strong secondary AWPer from Kolor, from what I saw at least. I don't know if he's still secondary AWPs on this team, but his primary AWP previously was very good. So to play maps like Vertigo and Nuke don't really make a lot of sense. Like, you sort of mentioned the opportunity for Dust 2, Mirage. Like, those are maps I'd put in their favor. Even maybe a Train. I don't know how good they are on Train, but I feel like that's a map that should necessarily suit them a little bit better. But I guess their T side of Vertigo was very good. Now we need to see more from the CT side. And again, it's the same sort of things that we've seen previously. Molotov's out, Smoke's out, to have some early presence over to the ramp. The problem is we don't see too many teams benefit from this. And while Corey goes swinging wide, the Smoke gives a shrouded vision for Snacks. And he's found an opener once again for their side.
Attempts at a return. Unfortunately, nothing quite landing. The smoke is effective for the right side, I suppose. And maybe that's what it's designed for. Reach takes a bullet while trying to get aggressive. You need to be careful not to force the issue too much, but works out. Cleve gets caught off guard. Kolor does indeed find the trade, but it's still a man advantage here. Well, I like the idea of the nade, but moving away from it, so... slowing things back down, allowing time for rotations maybe, but it's just more names for Snacks to add to his belt. 4-on-2. Julio very, very close to the action here. Does need to be checked effectively. He's the only one left at this point. Gets the double spray down. If he had some assistance, could have been something, but unfortunately just damage in the end, which ILLUMINAR don't really care about at this point. They have plenty of cash to work with. So now within 4... and looking really, really solid. Consistently getting the openers and converting. You know, there was a moment there, like I said, Reitz maybe getting a bit too aggressive through. Gets his timing perfect and actually gets a kill off the back of it. So it seems ILLUMINAR really hitting their groove on this T side. Budapest 5 yet to adapt, yet to find an answer.
Yeah, I think as well you have to talk about how Budapest 5 actually stacked that round. Like, they rotated all 4 players into the A site. After they lost the opening duel, and they still lose. And the one person they brought in last, Coolio, is actually the one to do the majority of the damage. Now, they've started this one off strong, but it is only pistols. Kolor, he's retrieved himself an AK-47. Gives them a bit more of a chance, but even still, things are looking bleak, and the re-aggression doesn't really work out. Still, though, players being lost, and it's getting costly. The rifles hit the deck, but Reitz is still desperately low. He will manage to clear out Corey, though, so no retrieval of any more weaponry available. And if they get into an afterplant position, you have to have faith that ILLUMINAR are going to do enough to turn this around. So, Torzi, alongside Coolio, hoping for maybe a couple of miracle shots. And Torzi expecting someone to jump up on the box. He does manage to pick off one, but it doesn't matter in the end. ILLUMINAR, it's a little bit cagey, a little bit problematic, but they're still dragging back these rounds. And at this point... I've not seen anything from the CT side of Budapest 5 that fills me with confidence.
Deciding fully how to approach this one as well. Of course, the timeout coming in from them. Orp for Torzi. I mean, they've got plenty of cash for the utility. So the buy is really not the problem in this round for Budapest 5. It certainly is down to the approach, which has been an issue in recent rounds. ILLUMINAR are doing it, aren't they? It feels like, and like I mentioned, keeping them away from 15 for as long as possible is really, really important. It gives you just a little bit of breathing room. Sure, the overtime is not like the desired goal right now for ILLUMINAR. They want to take it in regulation, of course, but if they have to go to overtime, it's better the score is 15-13 rather than 15-8. So we'll see whether that happens. I mean, an early swing comes in from Torzi. Nothing found off the back of it. Seems to be somewhat of a running theme for the CT AWPer, unfortunately. And back to a standstill. Tiny bit of damage done onto Reitz, but other than that, not a lot to write home about in round number 26.
It seems like the CT side trying to be a bit more proactive into mid, but it's not really somewhere ILLUMINAR have pressured. Just taking their time, waiting in a default, expecting that the CT side are going to try and push something, and the fact is they haven't. Once again, it just looks like the same sort of build-up on the other side of the map. They've been given ramp control almost for free at this point, which I can't say I'm a huge fan of. Like, sure, the aggression hasn't been successful for Budapest 5, but neither have their retakes. And you're going to almost rely solely on Fleeb to try and get some kills. And in fact, he fades back through the smoke. So unless they have like a stack of nades that they're going to throw in to try and deny the plant, I worry that this is likely to just be another afterplant situation for ILLUMINAR.
Oh, there you go. Torzi, though, breaks the silence. Good for Budapest 5. And getting better. Corey finds another through the smoke. Now a two-man advantage. This is looking solid. The bomb is indeed going to go down. But surely the retake is doable. Definitely not secured, but looking really, really good for Budapest 5. Smokes begin to dissipate. Oh, and a great angle here from Veggie. He only gets one. Doesn't expect the second from exactly the same spot. So easily traded out. 4v2, looking good. Pushing forwards. Quick headshot from Fleeve. And a second onto Mouse. Will finally break the curse, and Budapest 5 move up to 15.
Oh, it's taken them some time, but they've got to exactly where they need to be. Either overtime or bust for the Poles. More at 15 to 11. They could do it. They're not that far behind. And already, we are going to watch the CT side, see how they go in this round. Because that's the thing. That round was one that was very passive. The thing that was questionable for me was ILLUMINAR. They threw all the utility, but then didn't push behind it. I think they were expecting response, and because Budapest 5 just waited passively, it actually worked out better for them. This time they've challenged Ramp a bit, but once again, they've had to fall back.
Yeah, not letting it knock them, really, on the ILLUMINAR side of things. Ooh, Flash is a little unfortunate for both sides, to be honest. Veggie just continues to push forwards. Team kill comes in. Oh, that's awkward. Torzi as well, getting a double here in all this chaos. The triple, and that's the way the map ends. Budapest 5 come away with a 16-11. Crazy attempt from ILLUMINAR to push in goes terribly. I don't think it could have gotten much worse than that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I feel like that was almost like a last-ditch attempt, especially... I don't think we saw them go B at all. Like, it was just acentric from both teams. Obviously, that's something you witness quite regularly on this map, but yeah, the Budapest 5